decisions I am announcing today continue to be based on the Government's core commitment to respond to this developing situation by acting at the right time, in the right way, based on the strongest expert advice. And can you cart ag an am cart? To all the school students and your families, as Minister for Education and Skills, I want to make sure that each and every step we take has your best interests at heart. This is most important for the 126,000 of you in exam year. COVID-19 is making a challenging period of your lives even more stressful. With you in mind, we are taking a number of steps in relation to this year's state exams. The first is that all Leaving Certificate oral language tests have been cancelled. The second is that we are also cancelling practical tests at both Leaving Certificate and Junior Cycle, which were originally due to start next Monday. All students who were due to sit these tests will be given full marks for these parts of the exams. Because of school closures, it would not be possible to hold these exams next week, nor will it be possible to reschedule them. I believe it would be unfair to students to expect them to sit these tests at a later stage in a busy exam timetable when they would be expecting to prepare for other tests. At my request, the State Examination Commission examined a number of different options, but this decision has the welfare of students at its heart. I believe it is the fairest response. No student will score less than they would have if schools had been open and operating as normal. A further step we are taking is to extend the deadline for students to complete other project work and coursework. The date for completion of this work will now be extended to the 15th of May. I hope the flexibility that we are providing will help ease some of the pressure that students are feeling as they work outside of the school environment. The State Examinations Commission and the Department will continue to closely monitor the COVID-19 situation in terms of its potential impact on the state examinations timetable. Bawalum Jashina Al Chonwias Agol Hegna Privigi Alig, Munchuri Alig, agus an Foreign Alig, Fahonian Chumanta, agus an Kodju Erson Nadinya Auga Ave Agianu Nascrudiha. I want to in particular acknowledge the great and superb work that's gone on in that close connectivity between teachers and their Leaving Cert and Junior Cert students. And I also want to acknowledge the teachers and SNAs who have come forward, not just through me, but through the department, in offering their services to volunteer and to work in other areas. And we are working through this as we speak. All of us in government are acutely aware of the problems that this crisis poses for young people. We know that you worry about what is happening in the world at large, whether it's climate change or virus pandemics. On top of that, you have to deal with all of the normal pressures of growing up and the enormous pressures of state exams. It's a lot to deal with. If I have learned anything in my time as Minister for Education, it is that our young people are resourceful, resilient, creative and courageous. You have a huge role to play in your families and communities, keeping morale high, making the rest of us laugh and continuing to be optimistic. As the first truly digital generation, you are able to maintain social contacts and keep us all connected. Keep doing that. Do what you can to make life better for everyone. The truth is that we do have the will and the resources to get through this crisis, and we will. Mahakdrak Jerna, Chigniscullery Aleg, Fan Lakila, Fanny Jagwal, Agus Connie Jerfa, Gurmaigov Aleg.
Minister, what can you say to Leaving Certificate students who are extremely stressed about the June exams? They don't know whether they're going to take place or not. They don't know whether all their work will be in vain. There are some very stressed young people out there today. what would you say to those particular students? Is the exam going to go ahead in June, for example? Is it going to be cancelled? What can you tell them?
We're working on the basis that the Leaving Cert exam, written exam, will go ahead. We're working on the basis that we're also conscious of the stress that's on young people, and in particular Leaving Cert students. I'm certainly conscious from my contact with many Leaving Cert students that this new environment that they find themselves in, having to self-motivate, provide their own structures, and try to do their own timetabling in their own environment is a very, very difficult thing. But we're also hearing enormous positive feedback in terms of how resourceful schools are, teachers are, and the students are in terms of that connectivity. So what we're doing, and we're being very clear on this today, we're still working on the basis that the Leaving Cert will go ahead. Obviously, there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of assumptions in terms of where we may be next week, never mind May, June, but we're working on the basis that the Leaving Cert will go ahead.
The orals and practicals that are being cancelled on foot of today's announcement and the awarding of 100% of marks for those components, that clearly will raise equity issues for students who are doing subjects where there isn't a practical or an oral component. And I'm wondering, how will that be addressed by the State Exams Commission? As I'm sure it will be, but...
Yeah, well, look, at the heart of this decision was to try to keep fairness at the heart of it. And look, because of the extraordinary position that we found ourselves in, we still had to make a decision. And I've asked, and one of the things when we were talking about this over the last number of days, I asked the State Examination Commission to look at other ways, alternative ways, look at information telecommunications as a way of doing Skyping, as a way of doing these particular orals in that way. And also you mentioned practical, and this is reference to the music practical, which would have to be done in the school as well. So this was a difficult decision, but at the heart of it was fairness. And if you look at the tradition for orals, and in particular the practical music, the averages are very high. For example, Oral Irish average 82%, and also the music average is higher again, upwards in the early 90%. So at the heart of this was fairness, but at the same time it was a decision we had to make in extraordinary circumstances. And the last thing I wanted to do was to put extra pressure on students by putting the date forward. These exams were supposed to start this Monday coming, and realistically, if we were going to put them on at a different date, it would be on top of the preparations for the written exam. And I think young people are under enough pressures. So at the heart of the fairness question, we also had the interest of the students and obviously the welfare of the students as well. So what students will be able to do now, they will be able to focus on the written. I know there's a phase 2 of other project work and research work, and what we're doing there, we're extending that date out to the 15th of May. So we're giving extra time for the project work and research work that needs to be done in phase 2, the work that was planned to be done after Easter.
Na barta se fógra agad aniu, nach mani should beidir the intifact integrity na scrúdaithe se hanis beidir agus, an mé chunkar ag COVID in leideg na scrúdaithe scrífa, an gotar ar cealiad agus cinúar a dhéanthar cinniu.
Well, dus an catch fruda and integrity, agus seo focal urf fáinne meise aniu. Leis na rudi sin, ag achanam der bhíimeid ag onc an ceis seo agus an dúchlann seo, bhíimeid ag onc an integrity fruda an scrífa agus an scrúdabéil fásta agus na bhí meise ag lóirt leis na duine fragra agus na dulgas na gilige fásta, bhí na duine ag lóirt fruda an integrity agus cumáicli sin tá na duine a leg abalta lóirt gilige, na duine a leg a bheith nadra ag lóirt gilige agus bhí siad san bhí meise ag smúna fruda lofa fruda sin agus anis tá siad ag fáil céad fan géad in na marcanna agus sin an integrity socria fruda an scrúdabéil agus cumáicli sin bhí seanson in éon scrúdabéil is the couple of misa for the ruddy screefin in a sin. Agus the mail mod sanaj dafrul is the couple of misa nilisum filahar ta ni smomi kancha on filahar a new guji amara a new guji and Jerry Shackton agus an Shackton sho hogin agus ni tan cursi slancha agus an ranog slancha agus na canarax na ranog slancha fragra as na kesh ke Kibé in the scolana a legave osculj nye and fi neula no kibé in a yeshan agus ta meg fanagt leis na rodishan tan bunlina inte mi kinchaha ach an rodi kinchaha a tamajiganu na strus agus na brew attire na dalti scolana agus anish be na dalti scolana abalta agus na dinne lige a ganu an arteist ag ganu agus ag bogerai fridge na cursi scrúdithe scrífa filahar.
You say the department is working on the basis that the exams will go ahead in June, but how realistic is that given that we've no idea when schools are going to go back? You know, is it possible that schools will have to sit into the summer and the exams be pushed back, or is it something that would even be considered?
We're looking at all options, and when I say we, I mean the State Examination Commission and also the Department of Education officials. We are so focused on the written exams going ahead. Unfortunately, we don't have a baseline in terms of certainty. We're working on a day-to-day basis in terms of where the advice will be. Ideal scenario would be the virus would peak towards the end of mid-April, end of April, and we'll be in a position even for students to come back. But that is all based on assumptions as to where we'll be. It's based on hypothetical scenarios. So all we can do at the moment is hope that the community effort that's going on at large and people trying to slow down the spread of this virus, slow down the impact of this virus. But in the middle of all that, my responsibility is for the young people who are under pressure, under stress, and the idea of cancelling the orals and also the practicals in phase 1 is to take that extra bit of pressure off them to ensure now that they can continue to focus towards the written. We don't have a crystal ball, unfortunately, but the focus at this given point in time is that these written exams will go ahead. Oh, it's Bruno, man.
Just the dalti sin atá géirig a bheith na múntóirí gaeilge nó atá géirig a bheith na múntóirí francíse nó garmáise nó múntóir le teangacha amachad seo. An méid ceisina ann faoi caighdeán na níní sin nó imní faoi caighdeán na níní sin marall nach méid an cádaíocht có nó nach méid an scrúdú déalta có san áirteistenis.
Well, an taithe tá agamsa agus an freagra generalta dús smíhall. Na daine a bheith samach go begolgadí an allscoil ag beidir ag múnú nó ag teagas nó rud mar sin. Bhí siad ag smúnú fuidir an balla sin nar hanig si sa manscoil an céad bliain. Ach tá tú ceart, béceisina ag bun seama ina dhéon ceniu seo, ach an rud is mó nar a bhí mise ag lórt agus ag gceanú córa leis mo cholacia fuidir an cé seo, bhí muid ag smúnú fuidir an strus agus an brú atá na duine áige agus sin an fá a rinneise agus an rannog fragra as an cé seo an SEC sin an fá go rinsead an ceniu agus i gcónaí bhí muid ag smúnú fuidir an rudí sláinte agus na rudí fuidir an saoil nua atá ag na duine áige fi lethar ag fannacht do bháile ag gceanú struchtúr úr sa tea agus ag gceanú an saoil mícinsethe agus gan barna ó gan nás leis na Munsteri scoile na fásta agus cumáithla sin a rís bhhailm buíos agus má handas a ggóil chuig na Munsteri scoile a bheith fannig deagháil leis na duine áige agus ag gceanú cursaí difriúil agus cursaí nuálachan agus cursaí cruúthaíocht fásta.
Minister, I just want to know at what point would be the point of no return resitting the exams in June if schools weren't back by, say, April? Is that the point at which you have to call it and say the written leaving cert have to be cancelled? And a second question, just in regards to the knock-on of all of this and kids being out of school, at least for the best part of a month so far, potentially longer. At what point will there be any decisions? Will kids have to stay back a year at some point because of this? Has there been any sort of thought given to those sort of ramifications for keeping kids out of school?
Yeah, we're giving a lot of thought to both of them. The first one, in terms of the point of no return, is one which is, it is in the domain of the hypothetical. It is in the domain of not knowing where we're going to be next week, the following week. And in terms of where we're at today, the decision is to go ahead with the leaving cert. But one thing I'll be very, very adamant in doing is, whatever decision we make, we will make it quick. We will make it in the best interest of the students and giving them heads up and families heads up. But one of the most important things, going back again, is the state of play at the moment for students. And the students I'm talking to, a lot of them are used to the programme. They're used to the Monday to Friday. They're used to doing biology at a certain time, used to doing maths and English at a certain time. Now they're doing that at home with the support of the teachers. So it's a very, very unstructured environment that they're in. It suits some students. It certainly does. There's certain students out there that say, this suits me, I'm home, I'm able to put the head down. But I'm conscious as well, there's young people out there, and we were all young people not too long ago, and you remember your leaving cert year, your downtime, whether it was even having a few hours to hang out with your friends and all that, that's all been taken away from them, and that is something I'm very conscious of. And regarding your second part, we're looking at all options in terms of making up time. Ensuring that if there's young people, not just leaving certain junior cert students, but also primary school students and non-exam state exam students, we have to look about the making up time, because while we have all the creative examples in terms of connecting digitally, one thing this is proving at a very early stage is that human-to-human contact, that teacher, whether it's not just a guidance counsellor, but also could be a physics teacher or the principal, just saying to that young person face to face, everything's going to be okay, we're going to get through that. So they're missing that bit as well, and that's something I'm deeply conscious of.
Minister, I know you said a number of times that the Leaving Cert written exams will go ahead as of now. Do I take it then that the Junior Cert written exams are in doubt? Because I know a number of people would make the suggestion that by deferring or cancelling the Junior Cert, you free up space within exam centres, you free up additional staff. Is that a contingency plan that's being looked at?
We're looking at all contingencies, Carol. We're looking at absolutely every scenario, and one of the things that is very evident to me, and we had a conference call between Athlone, the State Examination Commission, and my department officials yesterday. One of the things is we're looking at absolutely every permutation, and yes, that is a reality. If the junior cycle wasn't to go ahead, it would free up resources. But the corollary to that as well is, if we can get through this and we're in a position to allow students to go back to school before these exams starts, we're in a position of carrying out the two exams. But just once again, whatever decision is going to be made here, it'll be made swiftly. We'll make it in the best interest of the school and the best interest of the students, to allow the school to continue their support of the students.
Minister, I saw that Boris Johnson, announcing school closures in the UK, has announced that there will be meal vouchers available for children who would normally get free school meals. Are you concerned, and do you have any plans to address the children who are lacking and losing out nutritionally because they're out of school, because so many children rely on school to get something as basic as nutrition?
Yeah, I think that's a really important point. And last weekend, I don't even know the days now, I think it was last Friday, Senator Lynn Rowan contacted me on that very issue. So we organised a meeting in the department on Monday to talk through, there's a budget line there for school meals. I'm very conscious that I've gone to a lot of primary schools and secondary schools, in particular primary schools, where the breakfast club has become a major part of that child's weekdays. So I've asked my officials to look at this, and the Taoiseach is also very, very supportive of the idea that we should continue with school meals in some form and try to target. We're also faced with a constraint: what are we allowed to do, what are we not allowed to do in terms of the health advice, in terms of people-to-people contact. But I think we can be creative around this, and a lot of restaurants and a lot of cafes are showing creativity and having one-to-one person contact, and I think we can do it in this regard as well. Yeah, well, look, the time frame we're all working within is to try to do something as quickly as possible. So, look, I met with my officials on Monday in Dublin, and I've asked them to see what we can do in this space, because the companies they can still make the food. There's a budget line there, and it's about trying to find out the best way of doing it, and hopefully we'll be in a position shortly to make an announcement on that.
Minister, can I ask now, with guaranteed 100% marks in the likes of Irish and music, they're guaranteed passes in those subjects. So, for example, students who take higher level Irish are now guaranteed at least 46 points. If they do higher level, 12 if they do ordinary level. And I'm wondering about how that affects students, for example, who have language exemptions due to dyslexia, but also then the knock-on effects when that comes to colleges down the road. So, for example, students who require modern languages for NUI colleges, or, for example, students who require Irish for primary school teaching. Yeah, well, look, that's a wider question, which I'm very conscious of as well. And what we have done as a department, last Friday, we've set up a group to deal with all those sorts of questions, that continuity now from secondary school into third level. Look, there's going to be massive change here, no matter what way we look at this, no matter what different scenarios we present, but there is going to be a massive, massive difference in this Leaving Cert year and moving into third level. So that issue around languages, no doubt there's going to be a very, very comprehensive and detailed conversation between the Higher Education Authority and second level. But ultimately, there's ways for universities to deal with many issues as they arise. They've done in the past, and no doubt they'll face this challenge head on as well.
I'm just curious, were the case that if the written exams were to happen in June as scheduled, would they be rescheduled before 12 months hence, or would it be maybe sometime in the interim to allow students taking a bit closer to when they've gone through the year itself?
Yeah, well, look, once again, we're looking at a number of scenarios if in the eventuality that they don't go ahead, but for the minute we're working on the basis that they will go ahead in June. And I think it's important as well that that message goes to the young people, because as they plan and pre-plan and organise their time, organise their downtime, organise their, I suppose, constant focus in relation to study, we're working on the basis. But if there's to be a change, if there's to be something that emerges in the next month, in the next month or two, that changes that, we will direct them to that. We obviously will be upfront in relation to that. But in relation to other alternatives, while we're looking at a number of different scenarios, they're all based on assumptions, and it's very much in the hypothetical. And when you talk about assumptions and you talk about based on a hypothetical or even an absence of a baseline, it's very, very difficult for young people to prepare. So one of the things that the message to the young people today is we're giving you certainty. The written's going ahead. The oral in relation to the languages, the first phase of languages, from Irish to Japanese to Russian and French and German, Italian and Spanish, they won't be going ahead, but phase 2 will be going ahead, and we've extended that date up until the 15th of May.
Minister, can I ask this one? This has been raised by people online already. Do people still have the opportunity to change their exam level? Because, as has been pointed out, you could have now people who will opt now for higher level Irish when they were planning on sitting ordinary level Irish, and they will get full marks for the oral paper when that is 40% of the total grade. So if everyone's guaranteed to pass, get top marks for the oral on higher level Irish, how would that not have an inflationary effect on the points race?
Well, to be very clear, we're going to get rid of all that excitement around that. That won't happen, because you're correct in saying the morning of the exam people can make the change. Normally, I think it's about 10% go from higher to lower, and there is a small cohort that go from ordinary level to higher level. But the people made the decision. The CEO has that decision, and that's the one that stays. That's where they've indicated their preference for higher or ordinary. That's the one that sticks. So that option is not there.
You can't change.
No.
I don't mean to be labelling this point. I just want to come back to my original question about equity and fairness in relation to people who aren't involved in an oral or practical in any of those subjects. And I'm thinking, for instance, of a very high-achieving student who isn't doing music in the Leaving Cert. And you have said there, in the stats you quoted, you said that typically, I think you may be referring to the higher level students, typically they got over 90% in their orals. But if you pitch that student against the rest of the class or somebody else in the class who isn't doing music, and I'm also conscious of the fact that I think for the practical and music, the component is worth 50%, or it's very high, and I think it's 50%. So, and we know how points are awarded and how it's very granular now, and where every, if you get over 80% or over 90%, how that can make a difference. The difference between 89% and 91% can mean a place in college on your top choice or not. So I understand absolutely where you and the State Exams Commission are coming from, an interest in preserving the fairness for people who are facing orals and practicals in the next couple of weeks. But what about those other students? What assurance can you give those that they, come August or whenever the CAO is making offers, that those individuals who aren't doing, for instance, Leaving Cert music, a high-achieving individual isn't going to feel that somehow or other that music student got the place that they felt they should have got?
Yeah. Look, I think there's no question about it. The Leaving Cert is competitive, and it's very focused on the competition from orals to practical to the written to the end of 5 years or 6 years, for whatever length of time a student spends in secondary school. And I think one of the things that's coming out of even this analysis of what we're doing now is the very nature of the Leaving Cert is so focused on the end game, and there is no real flexibility in it to measure performance over continuous assessment over a period of years. And one of the things, and this just at a personal level, Catherine, what I'm learning from this is, and this will be dovetail into the Leaving Cert review, which is ongoing as well, that we need to have a more flexible system that will allow students to have a longer term assessment rather than all being focused into one area. But in response to your question, one of the difficulties all the time is when you're faced with a decision like this, as enormous as this in an extraordinary period, young people may feel disadvantaged or young people may feel advantaged. I think what we have to do is we have to continue to keep a focus on those students that may feel aggrieved, and that group that's set up in the department to look at the higher end and look at that transition from secondary to third level. That's a really important group, and certainly those questions will feed into it. Thank you. Gormaigh, thank you.